The NBA Finals going on in Colorado. There was a bit of a hiatus, a couple of nights off. Game 2, the Nuggets favored at home against the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler trying to square things up against Nikola Jokic, the Joker, and company. Did you watch? Were you checking out the festivities in Denver? Maybe not. Maybe you had other things going on. Your weekend coming to an end, and you said, you know what, I don't need to watch that. I'll just hear what that dumbass says on the radio. All right, so anyway, here's what happened. If you didn't watch it, perhaps you missed it. Duncan Robinson, not Dunkin' Donuts, Duncan Robinson and Jimmy Butler taking turns in the fourth quarter as Miami squares the books. They're 1-1 heading back home as they take care of the Nuggets, and they win it 111-108 as Jamal Murray had a chance. A three-point shot, clank at the end as time expired, and so the Denver Nuggets go down. The Heat get the road win. First time this postseason that Denver has lost on the home court, and so Duncan Robinson, 10 points, all 10 of his points, most of them coming early in the fourth quarter. They were all in the fourth quarter, but early in the fourth quarter. And then late in the fourth quarter, Jimmy Butler with 8 of his 21 points, and he was able to close the door at the end. So let us discuss the question. The Nuggets losing at home for the first time in the playoffs. Who wears the dunce cap, the Denver dunce cap, in this chapter of the NBA Finals? So I have tropical depression, hostage negotiation, and 1980s TV. Going old school. Way back in the Wayback Machine. So, did we expect this series to be over in 4 games? No. Did we expect the series to be over in 2 games? No. Not that it matters our prediction, but we had the Nuggets winning in 6. Did not anticipate the Nuggets losing game 2, though. Did not have that on our bingo card heading into this NBA Finals. So this does change things. This is a major feather in the cap for the Miami Heat to win this series because they're going to be much better at home. Those supporting actors for Jimmy Butler will be able to be more productive. That's, if you go by the history books, that's the way this is going to go. But as far as wearing the dunce cap for the Nuggets, I hope they go to the haberdashery and there's enough hats, dunce caps left. But the one in particular, you do not allow a team, if you're trying, you do not allow a team to put up almost 70% from the floor in the fourth quarter, which is what Miami shot 68.8% from the field in the fourth quarter on the road in a supposed hostile environment. I mean, my goodness here. If you're playing with maximum energy and effort, you do not allow the other team to shoot almost 70% in your own gymnasium, but that's exactly what happened. Now, to be fair, Miami also missed a bunch of shots that were makeable shots in Game 1. We had mentioned that in a previous episode of the show, that the Heat were getting decent looks at the basket. They were clanking them. They were not making them, and that certainly helped out the Nuggets' cause in Game 1. In Game 2, spoiler alert, they made them. The Miami Heat made them, but in terms of the actual haberdashery handing out the dunce cap, you got to start with Michael Porter Jr. of the Nuggets, who so far in this NBA Finals, he's an auxiliary guy. He's the third option, if you will, for Denver, but he's taken 29 shots, or 24 shots, rather. He's made 7 of them, which means he's missed 17 of the 24 shots he's taken. That is less than 30% from the floor for Michael Porter Jr. in the NBA Finals. It didn't matter in Game 1. They won Game 1. Now it matters in Game 2. And from three-point range, often left wide open from outside, Michael Porter Jr. shooting a robust 17.6%, 3 of 17. And you've got opportunity. You're wide open. A lot of time, you're wide open. Get a rhythm, make the shot, and not doing it. And you look at those other starters, Porter, KCP, Aaron Gordon. In this game, too, while they were out on the court, the Denver Nuggets were outscored collectively by 40 points with those guys on the court. And so you also have to look at the strategy it blows me away, the rest in some of these games. So like, for example, Denver had an 8-point lead going to the fourth quarter. If you saw the game, you know that. They had an 8-point lead. And so they said, you know what, we're going to rest Nikola Jokic at the start of the fourth quarter. God forbid he plays the rest of the game. He might have a heart attack and die. So they decided to rest him at the start of the fourth quarter, and he was only on the bench for a short amount of time. By the time he had gotten back in the game, instead of, if he had been out there, conceivably Denver could have extended the lead out to like 12 or 14 points. Instead, by the time Jokic comes back in the game, it's a 2-point game, as Duncan Robinson had knocked down some shots, and the Heat had snuck within 2. But Michael Porter Jr., you talk about a tropical depression. At a time you cannot have a tropical depression. You've sucked at a time you cannot suck. That's a big one, but it's a collective defensively, and also these little things like Nikola Jokic not being out there at the start of the fourth quarter. Now, page 2 here. How concerned should Denver coach Michael Malone be with the turn of events? So before we get to the Maller scale of concern, we actually have some audio here as Michael Malone exploded. Was asked about the Nuggets. He was asked. I don't think he was even asked specifically about the effort, but listen to Michael Malone getting more worked up. He gets worked up into a tizzy here, describing Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Listen.
Coach Brandon Kristoff from KOA here in Denver. Can you kind of, I don't know, figure out why do you think your starters that weren't Joker struggled scoring, I guess?
Well, I don't think that's the biggest question. Now let's talk about effort.
Oh, here we go. This
is NBA Finals, and we're talking about effort. That's a huge concern of mine. You know, and you guys probably thought I was just making up some storyline after Game 1 when I said we didn't play well. We didn't play well. And tonight, you know, that the starting lineup to start the game is 10-2 Miami. Start the third quarter, they scored 11 points in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And we just got, you know, we had guys out there that were just, whether feeling sorry for themselves for not making shots or thinking they can just turn it on or off. This is not the preseason. This is not the regular season. It's not round. This is the NBA Finals. And that to me is really, really perplexing, disappointing. And I asked the team, I asked our players, you guys tell me why we lost. And they knew the answer. Miami came in here and outworked us. And we were by far our least disciplined game of these 16 or 17 playoff games, whatever it is now. So many breakdowns. And they exploited every one of those breakdowns and scored. So if we're going to try to go down there and regain control of this series and get home court advantage back, we're going to have to outwork Miami, which we didn't do tonight, and our discipline's going to have to be off the charts.
All right, so that was Michael Malone in a post-game rant with a lot of ambient sound in the background. So, listen, here's the deal. On the Maller scale of concern, 1 to 10, with 10 being at the very top, this is an 8.5 for Michael Malone. Did that sound like somebody that was very comfortable with what was going on? I know you're supposed to be over the top when you're a coach and all that, but he's negotiating. It's like a hostage negotiation for Michael Malone. That was a message to the team. Like, I've determined now, based on, I heard this a couple of times, Malone's rant after the game. He's using the media to get his point across, that he's yelled and screamed behind closed doors in the Nuggets locker room. But my theory on this is Michael Malone went on this rant because he knew it would be repackaged and put out into the social networks, and it'll be all over the place on TikTok and Instagram. That's the playground the Nuggets players hang out in. That's all NBA players hang out in. So they will be seeing this. Maybe they didn't pay attention when Malone ranted after the game, but I guarantee they will see this, the Nugget players, and maybe they'll react to it. That's what Malone is banking on. He's negotiating through the media. That's going to get graffitied all over the place, the Malone rant, and then his anticipation is that will be then that will lead to a successful performance in Game 3. That the Miami Heat, who have done this the entire postseason, we watched them against the Bucks and against the Knicks and the Boston Celtics, and now here in the NBA Finals against Denver in Game 2. And they're maestros at exploiting weaknesses, and the Denver provided many. All right, last word here. Last word. So, do you fancy a thought on how things are going for the Heat at this particular point as they lose game one, come back, win game two. So when you look at this, Coach Spo can be bushy-tailed, bright-eyed, big smile, why not, what the heck. They got the road win, the first team to win in Colorado on the road. But he really should go like old school, 1980s action adventure TV, the A-Team. I love it when a plan comes together because that was the plan. And Spoelstra got all worked up. I don't think we have the soundbite, but he got all worked up when he was asked about Nikola Jokic only having 4 assists and the Nuggets unable to get Jokic going. Now, to be fair, and Spoelstra ranted and raved about that, and he said, this guy's the greatest player in the world 2 of the last 3 years or something like that, his rant from Coach Spo. But Jokic only had 4 assists in the game. Now, he should have had at least, by my count, 4 or 5 more assists on open shots that were missed by his teammates who typically don't miss those shots, but did miss them here. But for Miami, I love it when a plan comes together. It's the A-Team, and everything they needed to do, they did. You don't hear any more noise about the altitude. Oh, my God, Denver, so far, 5,280 feet above sea level. Suddenly that wasn't a factor. Suddenly that went away. Miami had stronger legs in the fourth quarter. They were better. They didn't need an oxygen tank. That storyline went away. And you look at what the Heat were able to do throughout this game. And, yeah, Jokic was not a facilitator because of missed opportunities by his teammates to miss shots. But if you look around, the supporting actors for Miami, early on, if you're watching the game in the first quarter, Max Strus was gunning from outside. He made 4 of 7, and at one point it was even better than that, from three-point range in the first quarter. Then in the middle part of the game, the second and the third quarter, Gabe Vincent had 14 points. Then early in the fourth quarter, it was Duncan Robinson going bananas for Miami from outside, knocking down shots and getting to the basket also, not just knocking down outside shots. And then Jimmy Butler came in, and he was the executioner, delivering the kill shot in the final couple of minutes. So we'll head back to Miami, home cooking for the Heat. All the South Beach celebrities will be out, and the Nuggets have their work cut out for them.